What are common mistakes people make in a relationship? Things fall apart if you don't look after them. Professor Langdon in Inferno. It's easy to get so comfortable in a relationship that you take it, or the other person, for granted. The most common mistakes that couples make are not actively listening to one another, taking their partner for granted, and pushing aside problems because they don't want to cause an argument. Labeling your partner the source of all your happiness and joy. I think having deal breakers in relationships is obviously good to set your standards. But I know so many people who have the most petty and dumb deal breakers that just result in them never willing to compromise or be satisfied. It's 100% okay to not have the same hobbies or be the exact same person. Variety is the spice of life. Entering into them for selfish reasons. A lot of times people will enter into one so they don't have to be alone, and most people enjoying having someone in their life that likes them enough to be intimate with them. The problem is most of these same people will bail on the relationship if there's any trouble or work to do. To be clear, by trouble I am not referring to abuse, which is always a valid reason to leave. I'm talking about if the other person is struggling either physically or mentally and the other partner is annoyed and doesn't want to deal with it. They live only for the fun times and benefits a relationship has to offer them. One important thing to remember about relationships is that love involves sacrifice, and if you aren't willing to make sacrifices to improve the life of your partner, then you don't really love them. Taking your partner for granted is a big one. Know when to apologize and shut up. Sometimes it really is your fault. So accept it, own it and move on. Dwelling on a point, arguing or over-explaining does no one any good. In the same line, if your partner messes up, accept the apology and let it go. Assuming your partner should know what you want if they love you. I struggled early in our marriage because the women in my wife's family are big on this. We worked on it and it took a bit. But we got to the point where we would only hold each other accountable to expressed words and thoughts. It has made all the difference in the world, and 27 years of marriage have been mostly happy. Also, comparisons. Never say, well, my last so did this, or, my family always did it another way. Good way to alienate a partner. Trying too hard to avoid potential arguments to avoid conflict rather than hashing it out before the issue becomes too big to handle. In no order of priority. Not listening. During any discussion, argument, debate. When your partner is talking, you need to actually listen. If you're already formulating your rebuttal to their points, then you're not listening. Focusing on the bad days. Guess what? Fairytale relationships are just that. Fairy tales. In real relationships, we fight, we argue, we scream, we stomp our feet, we throw ice cream on them. We have worse days and we have better days. Don't measure your relationship by something you see in a movie or read in a book. Don't let the bad days define your relationship. Revel in the good days. Enjoy them like they were your last. Carrying the kitchen sink. A follow-up to the above statement. When you do argue, learn to truly forgive. Part of that comes from getting closure. If you're not giving closure to that argument you just had, you're not going to be able to forget it. This will cause it to fester. And the next time something similar happens, you'll find yourself hearing the words, "You always do this." Communication. Okay. I know you've heard this 1,000 times. But when I say communicate, I mean it in every form possible. Think you'll get into trouble and/or have an argument if you're honest? Do it anyway. Think your partner will not like what you have to say? Do it anyway. Obviously. This is not a hall pass to be mean. But if you don't like the way your partner cooks something, speak up. If you want to try something in bed and aren't sure about it, speak up. We versus you and I. Remember the person you're in a relationship with. Remember why you love them. And recall that the next time they do something that upsets, angers you, remember that they did not do it out of spite or malice. When faced with any hurdle or barrier, remember that it's we and not you, I. It's not 50-50. It's not give and take. If each of you is putting in 50% of the effort in everything, then you're both going to fall short. Instead, every time try giving it your 100%. Obviously. This is supposed to be mutual and goes both ways. And this is where communication comes into play. Live each day with the intention of making your partner proud. Laugh. Make each other laugh. Crack jokes. Fart. I don't know, whatever floats your boat. Laugh and laugh often. Be the reason for their joy. My favorite sound in the world is the sound of my wife laughing at my jokes. 1. You need attraction. 2. You need trust. 3. Communicate. 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 4. The other person is flawed. Just like you. Accept that. 5. Be a decent human. Don't lie and cheat. There. Done. Enjoy. The inability to appreciate the fullness of what your partner is communicating because your mind is crowded with thoughts, the result of being self-absorbed instead of encouraging mutuality in the relationship. When it comes to relationships, the most common mistake involves a person withholding who they really are. Far too many people treat first dates like opportunities to misrepresent themselves. They avoid discussing potentially divisive topics. They forget to mention their off-putting quirks. And they exaggerate their positive qualities. If someone is only looking for a casual fling, then all of that is fine. But if the goal is to find a partner with whom they'd be compatible in the long term, then they're making an enormous error. See. Romantic relationships require work and compromise at the best of times. But those efforts are only effective if there's already a mutually beneficial foundation. A neat freak wouldn't do well living with a slob. For instance, just like someone who wants kids probably wouldn't be happy marrying a vehemently child-free individual. As a result, it's a bad idea to hide any facets of yourself that might cause big problems later on. That truth tends to go against what many people will tell you about dating. Though, most folks, particularly inexperienced ones, will make the claim that you should always put your best foot forward. While that's true to an extent, the foot in question really needs to be yours, complete with all of the calluses and dirt that you'd track around the house. This metaphor may be getting away from me. Obscuring who you really are will only end up wasting both your and a prospective partner's time. Unless you both get incredibly lucky. It might seem counterintuitive, but if your intention is to connect with your future spouse, then you should start the relationship by saying, here are all of the things that would drive the wrong person away. Quote, after all, you're looking for the right person. TLDR. Deceptive dating dooms dalliances. Clarity confirms compatibility. Lack of communication on both sides. Edited warning. There is a sexist troll in the replies to my comment. You'll recognize him from all the down votes on his advice. Feel free to ignore the prat. He does not represent any mature part of humanity. Not being able to communicate. You need to be able to voice when you are hurt without them taking it as an attack. You need to be able to hear your partner. Not listening and being defensive. When your partner is upset about something you do, really listen to them. Resist the urge to always defend yourself. Take a pause. Evaluate and try to understand how something is making them feel. ETA. Of course you have reasons for doing what you did, do. The point is that a defensive response invalidates their feelings and communicates to them that your needs are more important than theirs. You can explain yourself later if you absolutely need to. But don't make that your first response or the focus of your response. Staying in relationships when either person is addicted to fucking around. At that point, people should let their partners or spouses go and accept their nature as serial fornicators. Stop hiding things from each other. Especially, keeping things from each other for their own good. Not only do they not know everything, you kept a secret, and now you have developed trust issues in your partner. If you are doing something or have a relationship that you don't want your partner to know about, that is a huge red flag. You should stop immediately. The saying "it is better to ask forgiveness than permission" does not fly in your relationship with your spouse. Having trust issues. Not speaking up the first, second, or third time your partner does something that bothers or harms you or makes you uncomfortable, etc. The longer you wait before saying something, the more ingrained it will become for them and the more likely you will fly off the handle over it later.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.